All right, here we go. Welcome to Sacred Sundays, everyone. Um, this has been an idea brewing for quite a while now. My wife and I, Katie, have been talking about it for years. Just the idea of coming together in a way that honors the sacred, and that's one thing I want to talk about in this broadcast. Like, what does the sacred mean to you? It can be such a trigger word for people. It can be something that pushes you away when really I feel like it's something that could really draw you in, something that could really inspire you. That's the whole point of it. So I'm going to get into that in a little bit. First of all, to begin, I want to explain what it is. What is this idea? For me, it's spiritual wellness, spiritual well-being. Um, I feel like in life we put a lot of emphasis on our physical well-being, which is very important. Our mental well-being, same. It's very important. Our emotional well-being. Yet for some reason, when we get to the spirit, it can often be put on the back burner. So I want to talk about different things that can bring it more to the front burner. They can bring it up front, not be such a trigger word, but rather be something that is, again, inspirational, something that is to be nurtured and grown in life, to be in harmony with the other bodies. But to start with, before we get further into that, I want to begin with a guided meditation. Um, these meditations are powerful. It's something that brings you to center, brings you to source. Like, let's use this opportunity together in these Sundays, just this minimal amount of time that we have together, to create a sacred space, to step away from the worries of the world, to step away from any troubles we may have, anything that's pulling us out, pulling us out of ourselves. Let's root down and be back into the moment with ourselves. So that's what these meditations can do. So if you would join me with this, just center yourself wherever you may be. Find yourself at home. Find yourself, if you're outdoors on your phone, just be present with that moment. Be present here and now. Listen to the sounds of the birds, or listen to the sounds of children wherever you are, the humming of life around you. Breathe that in. Breathe in deep into your belly. And as you exhale, just feel yourself settle further into the moment, opening your heart, opening the space around you to the sacred, to these moments together in the sacred. And as you breathe, you feel more relaxed and more grounded. You feel yourself connected to your chair. You feel your feet on the ground, connected to the earth. And now you sense high above your head a light coming into manifestation. You sense that light high above your head. And as you breathe and sit in the presence of yourself and of nature and of God, whatever that means for you, whatever that means, spirit, that light begins to pour down through your head. It washes on your body, but yet through your body as well. This radiant, healing, loving light. Bringing you more into presence, more into the now. It slowly moves past your shoulders, past your chest. through your heart, radiating your heart. Shining now through your hips and legs, all the way down through your feet, that radiant healing light from above to below, bringing you here and now into this moment together, into the sacred Sundays. So welcome everyone. So again, this is a new idea. This is for me a major experiment. I've never really done a live stream. I don't have the capacity now to edit myself, so it's straight in the moment. Here we go. So today you get just me. Today I'm just going to begin speaking, talking about astrology, talking about what the sacred means to me. In the future, the goal with this is to have guests, to have people that are also inspiring, that are also bringing and doing their best to come to the forefront, to bring that spiritual health and that spiritual wellness. So today, as I said, I'm going to talk right now about what that means to me, what this channel is all about. Katie mentioned something yesterday. She's, in the work that she does, she's working daily to help people heal, to help people find the best in themselves. And she said something that really I found inspiring, which was, when you create something, you create it for the need. You don't create it from the need. You create it for the need. And to me, that resonates in the sense that I see, the world is getting intense out there, and I see a real need for us to come together in ways that inspire us and that help us sort of manage not only our spiritual self, but also manage our emotions, manage our minds, manage our bodies. Again, it's all connected, which is something I want to talk about, the four bodies of life: body, heart, mind, spirit. And these are all reflected in the tarot. It's reflected in astrology. And that's why tools like astrology and tarot can help us understand ourselves. Also these they are sacred languages that help us grow, to help us push our consciousness past the boundaries. Now that's Jupiter stuff. We're going to get into all of this. At any moment within this, bear with me, I'm going to hit this button here. If you have any questions, leave a comment. I'm going to do my best to stay present here. And look, I'm seeing comments right now. This is awesome. It's working. Again, this is one reason why you just have me today, because I didn't want to bring in a guest and watch them have me fumble through I'm using this program called StreamYard, which is helping me do all this. I didn't want people to wait for me to get it together. So this is show number 1, the experiment. Thank you for being here with me. At any time, as I said, as I have it popped up here, ask me questions about astrology. What does the sacred mean to you? Well, let's get this conversation going. I do a Monday night. I have this meeting group, which has been really inspirational, and it's on tarot. We go through each of the archetypes of tarot and we talk about it. And what's really cool about it is it's a discussion. And so for me as a facilitator, it's a lot easier in the sense of like, cool, I've got somebody to bounce this off of. But right now, just raw in it, going for it. And Sage, I see you there. Sage is also part of our group. Emmanuel's there. And please, if anyone is inspired by tarot or wants to go deeper, that's Monday evenings. We do a Google Meet chat. Just reach out to me. You can go to my website, which, check this out. Boom! musicinthestars.com. It's working. Got this. So these sacred Sundays, it's about being a group together. It's about being around people that want to find the sacred within themselves, that want to find the inspiration within themselves. Take a moment out of our days, take a moment out of our lives where, again, we get so into the physical, and the physical could also be like work. the stresses of making money, the stresses that the news like throws at us like every single moment. And then we get in our heads and it becomes a mental thing. And then that affects our emotions and we're freaked out. And then we get anxiety. We get very emotional. And then we get lost in a way. Then we lose our presence. And so to me, it's these elements of the sacred that bring us back to that sense of feeling connected. No matter how lost we get out there in the world, we got to get back to feeling connected. And what connects us? Spirit. What connects us? Nature. We forget that. That's what I love about astrology. And that's what I want to talk about in the sense of using the archetypes of astrology, again, to at least expand us further out, expand our minds, and realize that we're connected. One thing I always say with astrology is people think that it's this outer influence of these planets happening to us and pushing to us. But really, we're connected. It's all happening through us. That's what's going on. And if we can realize that we're all interwoven, that we're all connected together in that sense, then it changes everything. My movements, my decisions, the things that I say, the things that I do, I realize that affects you, that affects my family, that affects everything. And so then through that self-awareness, through the use of the archetypes of astrology and tarot and these sacred languages, we can then expand ourselves, expand how we operate, expand how we choose to respond. So, forgive me again. I'm just gonna keep talking because I guess that's why I'm here. I guess that's why I started this. I didn't fully know where this is going to go, and I don't, but that's okay because again, if we have too much of a plan, we get in the way of it. Let's just let spirit move through us, Does anyone have a question? Like let's kick it off with, what does the sacred mean to you? Like again, I mentioned it's kind of a trigger word for people. I was talking with my friend Emmanuel yesterday, things like astrology, tarot, spirituality, words like this, they often get lost in what we call or what we know as, okay, woo-woo, right? And I'm not judging. I do not want to judge anyone or for whatever it is that they do or how they feel comfortable expressing themselves. But to me, oftentimes when we get lost in the woo-woo, for lack of a better descriptive word, you guys know what I'm talking about, it does a disservice to the true power and the truth of what these languages can offer for us. How do you guys feel about that? Like what comes up for you when I talk about that? What comes up for you when I say things like sacred? What comes up for you when I say things like astrology, things like tarot? Like I didn't do this for the longest time. Here's a little bit of my story. I've been studying this stuff for almost 3 decades. It's crazy that it's been that long, but I sort of hid it. I would disguise it. I would put it in my music. I would weave it into my art in some way. I would do, it was always close to me and dear to me. But to tell you the truth, I was afraid. I was afraid to be here now. I was afraid to do things like Sacred Sundays, to show up, because why? Straight up, I'm afraid of what other people think. So I get into my head, I overthink things, and then I lean into fear. And then that fear stops me from showing up and doing things like this, which is a beautiful thing, to show up. My dear friend Bruce Harvey always says, must be present to win. And I love that. If you don't show up, you're not present, you're not going to win. You're not going to be sharing your truth. And that's what it's all about, finding your truth. I use astrology, for example, when I do someone's chart, I use astrology to help them find their truth, to help them understand their true depth of who they are in order for them to live their truth. My question to you then is, where are you afraid? How are you not showing up, not only for yourself, but for others? What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of what other people think? You know? Let me read some of these comments here. Brenda Thompson, love you, Brenda. She says, Spirit is what is at the root of my being, of us all, the inner web that connects us all. Exactly. Exactly. It's that greater connection. And that's what I'm talking about in the sense of using things like astrology, ancient languages like astrology, ancient languages like tarot that go into that interweaving tapestry that we can understand that. Sage says, things that are close to my heart that I know I need to nurture in my life. That's what's sacred. Exactly. Things that are close to your heart. You know, what does life purpose mean in that sense? You know, like what, again, you know, to quote my wife, because she is so incredible at being a reflection of spirit and of truth. She's always like, what would you do even if you weren't getting paid for it? Even if you weren't, yeah, you know, if it wasn't about making money, what would you still show up to do? What are you so passionate about that it defies all things like of the physical and of work and all of that? What are you so passionate about that you would still show up and do that? Monica, she says, sacred means to me love and consciousness. So true. Spirituality, love, consciousness, compassion. Those are the things that are sacred. Why do we often put those on the back burner? We feel like we don't have time for that. You know, why is that? That's the main thing we should have time for. Anamika, it's those rare, precious moments that I connect to source and experience authentic love, the sacred. These are all such great things. Thank you so much. Maddie McMillan, my mom. Hi, Mom. She says we're afraid of judgment. And it's so true. But why? Who cares? You know what I mean? It's like one day we're gonna be in our deathbeds and we're gonna be like, damn, I didn't live my full potential. I didn't offer this or offer that because I was afraid of what Frank thought. You know, that man. We don't have time for that. These judgments are really within. We can't even actually put it on someone else. You know, I can't even say that, oh, it's their fault that I'm not doing this. The truth is it's me. If I'm afraid, it has all to do with me and me doing my inner work, me doing my work on myself in order to not be affected by that. Those of you who are tuning in that are part of the tarot group, you know, this is what we learned in card number 3, the Empress. Now the Empress holds that shield with a dove of spirit on it, and that shield in the shape of a heart. It's love, it's spirit, it's compassion. That's what protects us. That's our shield. Even if people are like throwing daggers and throwing swords and arrows and knives at us, we have that shield of love. It does not matter. It's way more powerful than that. So my offering to you in that sense is, don't worry about the judgments. You know, find that passion of who you are and what you want to do, and go for it 100%. Just go for it, because by you living your truth, being who you are, shining that radiant light out into the world, is going to give other people permission to do that. And sure, they might judge you. There are always haters out here, always. But that's okay. Let's transform their hate with our shields of love by showing up and being who we are and doing what we want to do. And not just for ourselves, but as an offering for those around us and for the world around us. Clara Porter says, it's only because I fear myself. And that's exactly it. You know, but what is that fear of yourself? Are you afraid of your own power? Are you afraid of that judgment that Maddie was talking about? I'm loving these comments. Thank you, everybody. It's helping me. It's helping me not feel so alone up here. I work good in partnership. Some people are like really good at just being alone and doing their thing and just knocking it out of the park. But for me, I love bouncing ideas and reflections off others. So I really appreciate you all being here. Monica Golak says it's very important to me to serve, help, and be kind to others. That is it, right? Showing up in a way that helps others. This is what Katie was talking about with creating for the need, not from the need. So what that means is you creating, you see what the world needs out there. And in this sense, for example, I feel like we need more spiritual wellness and spiritual connection and well-being. And so we create this and we come together for that need, but it's then you don't want to create something of like, oh, I need this. So I'm going to create this so I can get this. It's very subtle, the lines between that. And it's really trying to understand and know who you are, that self-awareness of who you are and why you are doing things, what it is you're doing. Anublis Emmanuel, welcome, brother. Clarifying the woo comment for me, it's about not confusing the visualization for the energy I'm trying to bridge to. Right. Not getting lost in the visual, not like we talked about yesterday. You have the Gandalf and you have the Dumbledores and you have all of these magical beings, which we love. We love the drama. We love the films. We love, shooting fire out of our fingertips, and how awesome would that be? Yet it can be a very distraction. You get distracted by the lights, right? The shiny things out there, when really you have to like root it down and really understand what it is these ancient magicians were talking about. Tarot goes deep into that. And again, the language of astrology, the same thing. Susan Norton, sometimes the power coming through me is so intense, it's overwhelming. It's tough to feel intensely when we're conditioned to play it small. Truth. I want everyone to feel their infinite birthright. Same. We're taught to dim our lights. We're taught, oh, if I'm shining bright, it's going to make this other person feel uncomfortable. When really we need to transform that in a way. We need to find a way that we're not lost in that sort of lesser mentality. But really, when we shine brighter, in my opinion, we give other people permission to shine brighter as well. As you're saying, I want everyone to feel their infinite birthright, their inspiration, their light, their goodness, their love. So good. Thank you, everyone. Got a couple notes here of directions that I want to go. Okay, here's a question, and again, it goes to spiritual wellness. Again, how do you nurture your spiritual wellness? Do you show up for yourself? Like, I know sometimes I don't. I get lost in worries and whatever it may be. Recently I've had the most bizarre experience of intense anxiety. It's been really strange. I've never had that before in my life. There are different thoughts and why that's coming or what's going on. But it was powerful. I'm still trying to figure out. You see me space out here, look out. I'm like, what was that? And in a sense, for me, I was getting lost in my mind. I was getting lost in the physical. And I didn't take the time to stop and look at the simple beauty of a flower, the simple beauty of a cloud disappearing in the sky into nothingness. There's so much magic and beauty around us at all times. To me, that's the connection, the spirit. If we put that on the back burner, we get overwhelmed. We're only working with the three of our bodies. Let me tell what I'm talking about with that. So there are 4 bodies, so to speak. You hear it in all sorts of religions. You hear it in, it comes up in tarot. It comes up in astrology. What I'm talking about is fire, water, air, earth, the 4 elements. I'm talking about spirit, fire, emotion, water, air, the mind, mental, intellect, earth, the body. These are the 4 elements that make up a complete and whole being. And it's important for all four of those to be in balance for us to truly be operating in completeness and wholeness, and I feel like we forget that, we focus so much in this world. You look at social media, it's all physical. That's just we're obsessed with beauty. We're obsessed with the physical realm. We're obsessed with making money, all this stuff that's dominating, which then ripples out and affects our psyche. It affects our minds. It affects how we feel about ourselves. All this stuff we're talking about with judgment, comparing ourselves to other people. Again, this affects us emotionally. And all the while, we forget about the truth, our truth selves, which is the higher being, the higher connection with spirit, the higher connection with nature. I've always been fascinated with mysticism, as a child, even going into religion, going into the ideas of Jesus, the ideas of Christianity. To this day, I still love the beauty of Christianity in a way, the true essence of it. You get into mystic Christianity, it's powerful. And I love their, just their working with gold and stained glass and wine. And, they have their rituals, which are beautiful and they're rooted in beauty. Then the mind and then the ego and everything takes over and things get distorted, which happens often with us humans. My point is spirit, sacredness, connecting, keeping that as an equal importance of a body to nurture, to keep your own health happening. Your own spiritual health is just as important as your mental health, as your physical health, as your emotional health. So how are you connecting? How are you nurturing your wellness? Monica says she calms herself through nurturing her inner child in nature by walking barefoot and meditating. Beautiful. Connection, rooting, connecting to the ground, keeping your feet on the ground. Yeah, keep these comments going. I love it. Thank you so much for that. Let's talk about astrology for a little bit. What do you guys feel about astrology? There are extremes, right? There are people that are like, no way, astrology is total fluff. It means nothing. It's not rooted in science. So there's that camp, just fine. But then there's the other side. There's a camp that are crippled by astrology in the sense that they won't even make a decision without knowing, where Mercury is in alignment with Venus, and if it's working with in relation to their chart, and then they can't make a decision. There's two camps over there. But where do you stand? Where are you at? Right on the middle? Full belief? Full skeptic? I'm curious to know. The skeptics were the reason why I didn't come to the forefront in my own astrology work forever. But it's fine. Again, just as we have a fear of being judged in ourselves, we're not going to go out and judge skeptics or the people that, want to be into the fluff and shooting fireworks and all white and everything. That's fine. Please know that I am also not wanting to judge that. I'm simply, my whole mission with astrology and tarot is making it useful and practical to bring the conversation to the forefront and into a way that really helps you in your life, to really helps you bring understanding of who you are. Not to wear on our sleeves or anything like that, but just to really use it as a psychological tool of self-understanding, That is what astrology can bring for you. One thing I do for people, I do the natal chart. Okay, what is the natal chart? Some of you may or may not know what astrology is, but I'm just going to assume, I'm going to start from the basics here. The natal chart is your basic cosmic imprint of where every single planet was the moment that you were born. Boom, in the sky. What sign was rising at that moment, and that imprint brings an energetic signature to your life and resonates through your life. Now, here's the thing. It doesn't mean, oh, because you're a Sagittarius, you're definitely going to be like this or act like that. You're going to have a tendency to respond in a certain way, but it doesn't mean that you are exactly that. We also have free will. We don't ever want to take that away. But these patterns and these cycles have been observed for like thousands and thousands of years. And we can see those imprints on certain beings depending on where their planets are, in whatever sign, in whatever house. So this is another thing we need to keep in mind. Houses, signs, planets. We're working with archetypes here. And I'm going to try to not use too many jargon words, because that's where people get lost. That's where people, they start to glaze over and they're like, I don't know what this means. And then fear kicks in of like, I don't understand this. And then they leave it. So my goal is to find a way to help you understand that and then use it in a practical way. So forgive me if I get lost, if I start throwing out jargon and terms that you don't understand. We'll come back around, or please leave a comment and let me know where you're feeling like you're getting lost. And then I will do my best to come back around and make sure that doesn't happen. But starting at the basics, and by the way, as I'm talking about this, it reminds me that I'm actually doing a fundamentals of astrology course. If anyone's interested out there in getting to the basics of astrology and learning it in a way that is practical and in a way that you can really understand your own chart as well as the chart of others, please go to my website here. I'm sorry, I'm really horrible with self-promotion, but here I'm going to do it anyway at themusicandthestars.com. Starting September 21st, I'm doing a course on the fundamentals of astrology. 3-month course. And by the end of that, you're going to know basically all the planets, all the signs, all the houses, keywords of like how to interweave those, as well as finding creative ways to use your own intuition and your own understanding within that. Because as I said before, there's a lot of information, but what is information if you don't understand it? The goal is to create understanding with the information. This information has been along for thousands and thousands of years, but it's important to us to evolve it. It's important to us to know the basics, but then we push it and we evolve it and we grow from there and move beyond that. So planets, signs, houses. Planets are your basic capacities and urges. These are the basic archetypes that are expressing out from within, from without and from within. They're moving through the signs, which color them, which give them a certain tone, a certain hue, a certain robe that they wear. And then they express themselves in the houses, which is here and now, which is the world that we live in. That's what the houses represent. And so it's using these basic archetypes to understand ourselves in that way. For example, the sun. Okay, so the sun in astrology represents your basic truth, the core essence of who you are within, shining out, radiating out into the world. Let's say that radiates out in my case through Sagittarius. Okay, so my sun, my true core inner self, needs to express itself in a way that is free, in a way that brings higher knowledge. And I say that because Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, right? Jupiter represents the expansive mind, the expanding into the greater capacities, pushing beyond the boundaries of normal day life. Sagittarius needs that. They go and they fly, they shoot that arrow and then they chase it. And in our sense, we don't necessarily even want to find it, but we want the adventure of searching for it. And so every sign has the colors and their modalities and ways of being and expressing themselves in life. Now, depending on where the sun is in the chart is going to show even more of where you feel comfortable expressing your truth. In my case, again, my sun is in Sagittarius in the 4th house. Now, the 4th house It's all about home. It's all about family. It's all about the where we feel safe and secure within ourselves. Things that we've learned, our psychological conditioning from our past, from the home we grew up in, as well as the home we create now. The home is a sanctuary. So for me, and it rings true, it's so true. I need a sacred space, a place where I feel safe and secure within myself in order to express the truth and feel free to express who I am. And it's so very true. And that's just a basic overview of how astrology works in a sense. Now I would get into, okay, what aspects, is my sun conjunct anything? Is my sun square, trine? Now I'm starting to throw jargon. These are things that are part of the language of astrology that it's important that we learn first. Excuse me. And it is a language. It's a sacred language. So we have to learn sort of the ABCs. We have to learn the alphabet. We have to know the different symbols and the signs. And then once we get past that, which doesn't take long, it takes like, a matter of days or a week at the most in order for you to be like, okay, I know what that means. And then we start to learn how the chart relates. It's so fascinating. It's so fascinating. And what I love about it is it just puts your mind into that sacred space. It puts your heart into that sacred space of stepping out of a normal way of looking at life, and focusing on the planets. Where are the planets right now? I love how just knowing, if you look at an ephemeris or you look at a chart and just knowing where the planets are and what sign, it connects you. It, like, even subconsciously just connects you on a different level to understanding that you're part of something greater, that things are moving out there, things are happening, man. And you're part of it. You're part of it. Let me read some more comments here. Sage is very intrigued and wants to use it more as a guide. Absolutely, Sage. That's what it's for. That's what it's for. I mean, we grew up reading the paper or whatever, the horoscope, which we all love, and it's amazing how sometimes those nail it. I will say that's more for like entertainment, but it is fun, and I love that. But the point that I'm making here is oftentimes, I remember, growing up in Austin, I think it was Rob Bresney's like in the Austin Chronicle, right? There would be Rob Bresney every week, and we'd be like, oh, what's my horoscope for this week? And it was amazing. Using it as a guide, using your chart, you go even deeper. Understanding, oh, I'm probably going to respond this way in this particular situation. And if that works, then 100% you amplify that and go further and go even stronger into that. However, if you have blockages or restrictions, which would be represented by Saturn, by the way, would be, then you see that. And in that particular situation, you're like, I will likely respond this way, but that's not going to work in this situation. So I'm going to actually polarize that and respond in this way, which is the beauty of it, because then you can actually move forward, and through wisdom and self-awareness, you continue on and you grow and you see how that responds. That's come up quite a bit in our tarot classes we've been doing as well, using these archetypes in ways that help us see ourselves and then move and respond in new ways. I have a name. I love the name. Someone called Little Potato here. Awesome. Astrology makes sense to me as an ancient guide, predating other more current methods, but definitely does not override free will. Agreed. We have to remain open. This is one thing I always say too with Mercury retrograde coming up, right? People start to freak out during Mercury in retrograde, and I get it. Astrologically, Mercury, okay, let's talk about the archetypes again. Now, Mercury is going into the mind. Mercury is going into the intellect. It's our capacity to respond in the sense of with words, with communication. That's Mercury. Mercury was Hermes. Mercury is the messenger of the gods. It's the doorway of how the gods come in and speak. How do you manifest and co-create your reality? And the tarot is represented by the magician. He has the elements on his table, fire, water, air, earth on the table, which we talked about. The four bodies. Mercury goes retrograde. So usually it's an outer expression, communicating out, going, moving around the world, doing your things. Now it goes retrograde. It's more internal, but it's not a reason to freak out. It's not a reason to like be scared. It's just another reason to be aware and be wise with how you respond in the world around you. Go more internal during that time. That would be my suggestion, but at the same time, don't be crippled by it. Sometimes things have to get done. You got to do it. You need to face it. So you go out and you face it and you do it. And you just be aware that there could be blockages. There could be energetic things that stand in the way. Simple awareness, that's another one of the key words for Mercury actually is awareness. Let's see. Tanya, my sister. Hi, Tanya. We exist in a living, interactive universe. The planets are archetypal beings, energies that we live with and interact with 100%. That's it. But for some reason, that's what I think a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their brains around, is that we are interactive with these energies, and perhaps it's just an experience that people must have on their own, or just that aha moment that gets them there. We do things like this that perhaps can help, and yeah, hopefully they find their way into that as well. Let's see. Brenda says it's so easy to get caught up in the five senses and what is right around us, and to forget that we are part of a larger system, planet, stars. How do we keep that focus? Exactly. It's a choice, right? How do we keep that focus? I mean, doing astrology for me helps me keep that focus. It always reminds me, as I said a minute ago, oh my God, I'm connected to so much that's happening out there. And you see it quickly in the cycles of the moon, right? Waxing, waning, growing, diminishing. That's happening around us all the time. The reflection of the cycles that are always moving and happening. But again, we get caught up in work. We get caught up in survival. And like you say, Brenda, the senses around us, we get caught up in all of that. And it's really up to us to take moments like this. That's the whole point of this group together on these Sundays, to remember the sacred, to honor the sacred. Essentially that's what, the Christians going to church, that's the ultimate expression of that, really. Of course, then it gets all, diluted or weird or what, whatever stories we have with that. We all have interesting stories with that, I'm sure. Yet the essence of it is beautiful. It's beauty. The Native Americans, they say that I walk in beauty, the beauty way. That's the way with spirit. That's the connection with spirit. Vera Smith says anxiety is very pronounced in the collective right now. We're all going through this together. I'm interested in that. I agree. I know a lot of people dealing with anxiety. I'm very curious of why that is. What are we sensing? My sister actually brought up recently that there's a collective transformation happening right now. There's a death of one world, the birth of another, and it does seem like that. And I'm very curious too. Astrologically speaking, once Pluto moves out of Capricorn and goes back into Aquarius for the next, 14, 15 years. Is that the real age of Aquarius? Is that the transformation we've been waiting for and looking for? I'm curious to see what unfolds in that. Amber Doyle says, I love this. Amber, it's been so long. Old Austinite. Love you, Amber. I'm so glad you're here. This is wonderful. L. Can says, yes, we are all unique with our divine power, but I'm a Capricorn in service to others, and I very much use nature to rebalance myself. It's a good job. You Capricorns, the earthy sign, use nature to ground yourselves. Capricorns can tend to be very serious at times. They're very practical. One of the key words for the Capricorn is they're very good leaders. We trust them. They're grounded and they can be trusted. They can sometimes be a little bit restricted. This is that Saturn influence. Capricorn being ruled by Saturn. We talked about, again, all the planets have rulers. And so they're going to always reflect like different aspects and different energies from their ruling planet. In Capricorn sense, there can be a restriction, there can be a limitation. So it's good for them to do things to expand their hearts, expand their minds, and express themselves in that way. So stay out in nature. I love it. And yes, you are also cardinal signs, as Monica mentions. And the cardinal sign, now we're getting into the qualities. Cardinal, fixed, mutable, right? So I'm not going to go too far into that right now. But again, please, this is going to give me an opportunity to use this. Watch this. Boom! Fundamentals of Astrology course. If you want to learn more about the qualities, the signs, the planets, the houses, how the whole language, I'm going to go into the very basics of all this stuff deep in this course. So please do consider joining that. I'm not going to be promoting too much. Apologies for that, but you might be interested and it can be really helpful for you. So hopefully you join me on that. Where else am I going to go with this? I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but this is fun. I'm having fun and I'm loving being with you guys. I do want to mention next week. Okay, I'm going to have my first guest next week, which is my lovely wife, Miss Katie Gray. She's going to join us next week. If you want to hear Katie and I having a discussion on all things sacred or what the sacred means to us, please join us. Same time, same place here, Sacred Sundays. We're going to experiment keeping this going. My goal is to keep having interesting guests. If you want to be a guest, reach out to me. We can talk about these. We can talk about stuff. Let's have you on the show. It would be awesome. Next week, Katie would like to talk about overcoming life's challenges to align with life's purpose. So again, overcoming life's challenges to align with life's purpose. That's what we're going to talk about next Sunday. And Katie is a magician that is so powerful. She helps so many people. And I'm really excited for you to hear her and what she talks about, as well as what she's up to with her empowered heart work. It is really, really powerful stuff. And please join us next Sunday. Let's see some more comments. We're not going anywhere yet. I love seeing you guys love one another. This is so good. Astrology, a way to connect with something greater. Yeah, I mentioned that. I'm just going to read my notes here. One thing about using things like astrology. Okay, this relates back now to the sacred, to the feelings of what is the sacred. What does the sacred mean to me? Sometimes we need tools. As Brenda was just saying, you get lost in the five senses. How do we stay connected to something greater? And this is where I strongly feel like tools like astrology, tools like tarot, whatever it is, music, poetry, even religions, whatever it is, when you set aside the time and the moment to just show up with the intention of, I'm going to connect with spirit. I'm going to connect with my spirit. I'm going to connect with something greater. You show up with that intention and you just start working with it. You start learning the archetypes of astrology. You start learning the archetypes of tarot. You go into these guided meditations or into your own meditations. And it's incredible. That is what will keep you connected. That is what will keep you in harmony with the greater. It'll pull you out of the micro world of worry and stress and just remind you that there's a beautiful, expansive universe out there that you are a part of. And that you, by living your purpose and living your truth, can help others. Remember that too. And that's what it's all about. We have to show up for one another. Especially because, I don't know about y'all, but it is getting intense out there, intense. And it's just speeding up more and more and more. And weird stuff over here and weird stuff over there. And then we get lost in that. And then fear kicks in and anxiety kicks in. Let's try to find ways simple ways to just stop for a second, to just stop and root down, have a legitimate, like, real somatic experience, connected to one another, connected to the planet. As someone just mentioned, walking barefoot, noticing the flowers, noticing the clouds, and as elemental and basic as that may sound, it is so powerful. It is so powerful when we just stop and connect and we breathe and we remember that we're connected. That's what it's all about. I feel, for me, and potentially for some of you. So thank you, everyone. Thank you. I'm going to leave it off at that. Felt like it went well. I was concerned that I was going to mess up my streaming here or fumble, and I probably did, but that's okay. Next week and the weeks coming, I'm going to have guests. Join us. Please join us. It's going to be fascinating. It's going to be interesting, and it's going to be a journey into the sacred, and we'll be able to ask comments. We'll be able to, like, get into the hearts and the minds of other creative people out there, other people that, as my friend Emmanuel mentioned yesterday, are in the trenches, of bringing consciousness into the world, in the trenches of helping others, in the trenches of expanding. So let's jump in the trenches with them and do our part to support them and help them be heard. So I send each of you truly a heartfelt hug. Thank you for taking time out of your day, out of your life, to listen to what I have to say here, to listen to what comes through. May these sacred Sundays be inspirational for you. May they help you. Please join me again. Please come back. I hope you feel inspired to come back, to listen to what guests we have, to what others will be joining us. And thank you very much. Sending you all so much love.